A woman protected by God from evil people often carries within her a spiritual gift of discernment that cannot be explained by logic or human reasoning. It is something that rises in her heart and mind like an inner alarm whenever danger is near. She may not have proof. She may not have evidence. Yet something within her warns her to step back, to pause, or to walk away from a situation before it unfolds in a harmful way. This discernment is not simply instinct. It is a divine ability to see beyond appearances and feel the energy of intentions, even when words sound sweet and actions seem innocent. She may find herself suddenly uncomfortable in the presence of someone who smiles too much. She may feel heaviness when she is about to enter a place that looks harmless, and she may hear a quiet voice inside saying, "Do not trust this. Do not go further. Do not open that door." This is the shield of God working through her spirit to guard her path before she even realizes the danger that is around her. This gift of discernment becomes one of her greatest weapons, for evil people often hide their motives under charm, flattery, or deception. Yet no matter how well they try to cover themselves, they cannot hide from the spiritual radar God has placed within her. She may not always understand why she feels the way she does. She may even question her own instincts at times. But when she chooses to listen to that voice, she is spared from traps she cannot see. There are moments when she says no to an invitation and later discovers that saying yes would have placed her in harm's way. There are times when she ends a friendship or relationship without being able to explain why, only to realize much later that the person carried jealousy, malice, or betrayal in their heart. This is how God's protection manifests, not with flashing signs in the sky, but through whispers in her spirit that guide her step by step away from evil. This discernment also sharpens her vision about the people she allows into her life. She may appear cautious, selective, or even distant to those who don't understand her. But the truth is she is filtering energies, testing spirits, and watching closely before she gives her trust. God gives her eyes to see beyond appearances, to look at patterns, and to catch inconsistencies in words and actions that others may overlook. This is why she rarely falls into the traps of manipulators for long. She may be approached, she may be tested, but her spirit will not allow her to stay entangled with anyone whose motives are rooted in darkness. There is a kind of shield that rises whenever someone with evil intentions gets too close. And while others may call it intuition, she knows it is the Spirit of God speaking and guiding. Her discernment also extends to environments and decisions. She can walk into a room and sense immediately whether the atmosphere carries peace or hidden hostility. She can stand at a crossroads in life and feel deep in her heart which path is aligned with divine protection and which path would expose her to harm. This ability is not always loud. It does not come as thunder or lightning, but as a subtle check in the spirit, a quiet uneasiness, or a sudden lack of peace that warns her not to proceed. And when she obeys, she later finds out that her hesitation saved her from something destructive. This is how God shields her journey, not only protecting her from people, but also from places and choices that could open doors to evil. Through this spiritual gift, she becomes a woman who moves with wisdom and strength. She may not reveal to others how much she senses, but she carries the knowledge that God allows her to see behind masks and beyond the surface. While others may be fooled by charm or deception, she knows in her heart when something is not right, and she trusts the divine signal that tells her to turn away, to remain silent, or to stay strong. This gift of discernment marks her as one who is covered. For no evil person can remain hidden forever when the light of God shines through her perception. When a woman is protected by God from evil people, one of the clearest signs is that no weapon formed against her prospers. No matter how carefully the trap is designed, no matter how many lies are spoken, no matter how much jealousy fuels the attack, every plan formed against her eventually collapses under its own weight. People may scheme in the dark. They may gather against her. They may even think they have won when they spread rumors or plot betrayal, yet God always exposes them and turns their efforts into nothing. She may not even have to defend herself or fight back in the way others do, because her shield is divine and her protection is not rooted in human strength, but in the hand of God that surrounds her. There are times when others have whispered against her, hoping to damage her reputation, and yet somehow the truth rises to the surface. Those who tried to harm her with lies end up entangled in their own deception. Their words fall empty, their accusations lose power, and she walks out of the storm untouched. It seems as if there is an invisible covering around her that does not allow evil arrows to reach their target. People may push her into situations designed to break her spirit, but instead of being destroyed, she comes out stronger. Glowing with resilience that confuses her enemies, this strength is not her own, but a reflection of the promise that what is meant to harm her will never prosper against the will of God in her life. Sometimes the weapon is not direct, but subtle. It may come as manipulation, control, or silent sabotage, yet even in these hidden attacks, something always goes wrong for the one who planned it. The weapon bends, the strategy backfires, and the person who tried to cause damage ends up exposing themselves. This is why those who carry jealousy or hate toward her often find themselves frustrated, because no matter what they attempt, it does not last, it does not stick, it does not achieve the destruction they hope for. The more they press against her, the more they reveal their own darkness, and the more obvious it becomes that she is not walking alone, but under a divine shield. This protection does not mean she never faces trials or challenges. She may feel the sting of betrayal. She may endure seasons of difficulty, but what separates her from others is that these battles never destroy her. She may bend, but she does not break. She may stumble, but she does not fall permanently, because the hand of God lifts her, restores her, and surrounds her with victory. Even when defeat looked certain, her life becomes a testimony that evil has limits, that darkness cannot win against light, that no curse, no gossip, no attack can overturn the blessings that God has placed upon her. When people try to block her opportunities, doors open elsewhere that no one can shut. When someone attempts to shame her publicly, honor comes to her name in unexpected ways. When they design plots in secret, light uncovers them in the open. This cycle repeats again and again, reminding her that weapons will always be formed, but they will never achieve their purpose. She carries with her the quiet confidence that she does not need to fight every battle in her own strength. Because God already fights on her behalf, her enemies may gather, but they scatter just as quickly when divine protection surrounds her. This truth is what confuses those who hate her. They cannot understand why she still rises after every attempt to pull her down. They cannot understand why their plans crumble while she keeps moving forward. They cannot understand why the very weapons they created end up turning back on them. It is because she is not ordinary. She is chosen and shielded, And when God places his covering on a woman, no evil person, no scheme, no darkness can ever prosper against her. A woman who is protected by God from evil people carries within her a peace that does not make sense to the human mind. It is not the kind of peace that comes from perfect circumstances or a life free from struggles, but rather a peace that endures in the middle of storms, heartbreak, and betrayal. She can be surrounded by chaos. She can face lies spoken against her. She can encounter disappointment after disappointment, yet somehow her spirit remains calm, her heart remains steady, and her faith remains unshaken. This peace is not created by her own willpower, but is poured into her by God. It is a supernatural shield that guards her from the arrows of anxiety, fear, and doubt that evil people often try to plant inside her. When others expect her to crumble under pressure, she stands firm with a quiet strength. When people attempt to provoke her or break her spirit, she responds with calmness that confuses them. This unshakable peace acts like a wall that blocks negativity from finding a home in her soul. Even when she is hurt, even when she is misunderstood, she does not allow bitterness to take root. She does not allow anger to rule her, because she understands that her battle is not against flesh and blood, but against unseen forces. She refuses to give evil people the satisfaction of watching her lose her joy. She refuses to surrender her mind to worry. Instead, she rests in the assurance that God is her protector and that nothing formed against her can steal her inner stillness. This peace becomes a visible sign to others, for it radiates from her presence. When she walks into a room, people sense the calmness she carries. When she speaks, her words are seasoned with wisdom and gentleness. When others around her panic or complain, she remains steady, and it is this steadiness that reveals the depth of her protection. Evil people cannot stand such peace because it reminds them of the power they cannot break. They may try to stir drama, they may try to sow confusion, but nothing penetrates the shield God has placed around her heart. Her peace is her silent weapon, disarming every attempt to unsettle her spirit. There are moments when she could easily respond with anger. There are times when she could allow fear to take over, but instead she chooses stillness, and that stillness becomes her strength. It is written that the peace of God surpasses all understanding, and this truth lives in her daily. She does not need to fight every rumor. She does not need to chase after every person who tries to bring her down. She simply holds her peace, knowing that God will fight for her. And time again, she sees how battles are won not by shouting or striving, but by standing firm in the quiet assurance of divine protection. Even in her private life, this peace covers her. When she lies down at night, she sleeps without fear. When she wakes in the morning, she rises without dread. Though evil people may have plotted in the dark, she walks into the day with confidence, for her trust is not in people, but in the one who watches over her soul, even when her circumstances do not make sense. Even when everything around her suggests she should be restless, she carries calmness because she knows she is not alone. This is the mark of a woman under divine protection. Her peace becomes her testimony. Her calm spirit becomes her strength, and her unshakable trust becomes the reason why evil cannot touch her heart. This unshakable peace is not a weakness, but a sign of her strength, because only someone who knows God's covering can face storms without drowning in fear. Only someone who understands divine protection can be surrounded by enemies and still rest. Her peace shows that she is protected in ways the eye cannot see, guarded by a power greater than any evil person. Her calmness in the midst of fire proves that she is never walking alone. A woman protected by God from evil people often notices how certain individuals suddenly disappear from her life without warning. People she thought would remain close somehow drift away. Toxic relationships collapse. Jealous friends expose themselves, and harmful connections that once seemed unbreakable come to an end in ways she cannot explain. At first, she may feel confused, abandoned, or even heartbroken, but with time, she comes to understand that these separations are not accidents, but divine interventions. God removes certain people from her path because their presence carries hidden danger. He sees what she cannot see. He hears conversations behind her back. He knows intentions hidden in hearts. And when he realizes that someone's presence will bring destruction to her destiny, he clears them out of her life before they can do lasting damage. This removal can feel painful because sometimes the very people God takes away are the ones she trusted most. She may cry over friendships that ended suddenly or relationships that broke without clear explanation. But what she later discovers is that staying connected to those people would have led her into betrayal, heartbreak, or even spiritual attack. God's protection does not always come in the form of shields against external enemies. Sometimes his protection is revealed through separation, through closed doors, through goodbyes that seemed unfair in the moment, but necessary for her growth and safety. She begins to realize that rejection is often redirection, that the loss of one connection opens the way for something greater, and that being left by people was never truly abandonment, but preservation. This divine removal also exposes the truth about people she once held close. She begins to see their real colors when their words no longer match their actions, when their support fades during her struggles, or when their jealousy shows in subtle ways. It is in these moments that God allows masks to fall, showing her who is truly for her and who was only pretending. Even when she feels blindsided, she later thanks God for the exposure, because it saves her from deeper wounds that could have destroyed her spirit. Every person who leaves makes room for new blessings, and every friendship that fades proves that her journey cannot be shared with everyone. Sometimes the removal is sudden, like a dramatic end to a relationship. Other times it is gradual, like a slow drifting apart that she cannot control. But however it happens, she notices that her life always becomes lighter afterwards. She feels less drained, more peaceful, and more focused once those people are gone. She may not notice it immediately, but over time, she sees how much freer she is without the weight of their presence. God removes them not to punish her, but to protect her, for he knows that evil influence can come disguised as love, and that jealousy can come from those who smile the most. His way of protecting her is by cutting ties she was too loyal to cut on her own. This pattern of removal builds her trust in God's timing. She learns that not everyone deserves access to her heart, that not everyone who enters her life is meant to stay, and that divine protection often looks like separation from what she thought she needed. She learns to stop chasing after those who left, to stop reopening doors that God himself has shut, and to stop begging for the presence of those who were only there to slow her down. The more she accepts this truth, the stronger her faith becomes, and the more peaceful her spirit remains when people walk away. She also begins to understand that protection from evil does not always mean fighting visible enemies. Sometimes it means unseen battles are being won on her behalf. God may be shielding her from conversations she was never meant to hear, from plots she was never meant to face, and from betrayals that were never meant to wound her. The exit of people is often God's victory playing out in silence. And even if she cannot explain it to others, she knows deep down that her steps are ordered and that every loss has purpose. In this way, she carries the quiet confidence that whoever remains in her life has been filtered by God, and whoever left was never meant to walk with her into the next chapter of her destiny. A woman protected by God from evil people carries with her a divine favor that follows her wherever she goes. Opportunities open in places where others are denied. Blessings reach her in unexpected ways. And even when people try to block her progress, somehow doors open in different directions. This favor is not the result of luck or coincidence, but the manifestation of God's hand over her life. It is the kind of grace that makes her stand out without trying, that brings her the right connections at the right time, that elevates her even when others attempt to pull her down. Those who are jealous of her often cannot understand why she continues to rise. But the truth is, she is not moving by human power, but by divine covering that ensures no evil plan can stop what God has already destined for her. This favor acts as a shield because it frustrates those who wish her harm. When they try to close one door, another one opens that is even greater. When they attempt to ruin her name, her reputation grows stronger. When they try to isolate her, she finds herself surrounded by unexpected support. This continuous cycle of blessings disarms the strategies of evil people because nothing they attempt ever truly works. Instead of falling into despair, she finds herself walking in new opportunities that seemed impossible. Instead of being blocked, she finds herself accelerated. Instead of being destroyed, she finds herself lifted higher. And this becomes a testimony to the fact that divine favor is more powerful than any scheme designed against her. Favor also gives her access to spaces where she does not seem qualified by worldly standards. She may lack the connections. She may not have the resources. She may not even fit the image of what others expect. But still she is chosen. Still she is given opportunities. Still she finds herself in rooms that others tried to keep her out of. This is because God's favor bypasses human approval. No amount of envy, sabotage, or opposition can cancel what has already been written over her life. Evil people may whisper against her, but their words carry no weight against the authority of divine blessing. They may try to pull strings in their favor, but her path is carved by God Himself, ensuring that she receives what is meant for her without compromise. She may look back and see moments where she thought she lost, moments where rejection hurt deeply. But later she realizes that those rejections were only redirections towards something far greater. The favor of God works in mysterious ways, and part of that mystery is turning what was meant for harm into platforms for growth. Those who tried to humiliate her may later witness her elevation. Those who attempted to silence her may later watch her influence expand. Those who tried to remove her from opportunities may later see her walking through bigger doors. And all of this happens not because of her own strength, but because she is shielded by favor that evil cannot touch. Even in her daily life, this divine favor is visible. She finds kindness where she least expects it. She receives help in moments when she needs it most. She encounters people who are divinely assigned to support her journey, and she notices how even in difficulties, there is always a way made for her. This constant flow of provision and support shows her that she is not walking alone, that her life is being guided and that no plot against her can succeed, because she carries something greater than human influence. She carries the signature of God's approval. This favor also humbles her, because she knows it is not earned, but given. She understands that others may work harder, yet not see the same results. But in her case, it is not about striving, but about divine covering. She does not boast in herself, but in the one who makes all things possible. And it is this humility that continues to attract blessings her way. Her enemies cannot comprehend it. They cannot undo it. They cannot compete with it, because favor is not something that can be stolen or manipulated. It is something that flows directly from God, making her life an ongoing reminder that when a woman is protected by divine favor, no evil person can stop what has already been set in motion for her destiny. A woman who is protected by God from evil people often carries within her words that are filled with truth, wisdom, and power. When she speaks, her voice carries weight beyond her natural ability. Her words are not ordinary, but carry a spiritual authority that cuts through lies and exposes deception. People who come with hidden motives find it difficult to manipulate her, because her responses are guided by clarity and conviction. She may not raise her voice or argue endlessly, yet her speech silences confusion and reveals what others tried to hide. This ability to speak truth with strength is not something she forces, but something that flows naturally because God aligns her tongue with discernment. When she opens her mouth, the light in her spirit speaks louder than the schemes of evil. And no matter how carefully a lie has been constructed, her words shine in such a way that deception cannot stand against her. Evil people often underestimate her, believing they can twist her thoughts or control her perspective. But her ability to speak with wisdom makes their efforts collapse. She has a way of addressing situations that brings clarity even when others are blinded by manipulation. Her words often expose the motives of those who mean harm without her needing to accuse or fight. This is why her presence is unsettling to those with bad intentions, because they know she cannot be easily deceived, and that her words carry the power to reveal what they wish to keep hidden. This divine gift protects her not only by shielding her from harm, but also by preventing her from being drawn into webs of lies. Her speech is also a source of strength for those around her. She often encourages others without even realizing how much her words mean. People who come near her feel uplifted because her voice carries hope. People who are struggling feel comforted because her speech carries peace. And people who are lost feel guided because her words carry direction. This is a reflection of her divine covering, for a woman who is protected by God becomes a vessel through which wisdom flows. She may not know how deeply she influences others, but her voice often becomes the very thing that shields not only herself, but those who listen to her from falling into traps. This gift of powerful speech is not about eloquence, but about authenticity and truth. She does not need to speak many words to make an impact. Sometimes a single sentence from her silences gossip. Sometimes a few gentle words calm heated situations. Sometimes her bold declaration shuts down lies. Her speech is guided by the Spirit and therefore carries a force that cannot be explained in human terms. Those who wish to harm her often find themselves exposed or weakened simply by the way she communicates, and this constant exposure becomes a form of divine protection, for God ensures that her words are tools of light in a world filled with shadows. There are also moments when silence becomes her most powerful weapon, because being protected by God does not always mean speaking back. Sometimes it means knowing when to remain quiet so that her silence speaks louder than any defense. This balance between speech and silence is part of her divine protection. She knows when to answer and when to withhold. She knows when to stand firm and when to let God fight for her. Her ability to choose wisely frustrates evil people because they cannot predict her. They cannot trap her with arguments, and they cannot use her words against her, for she is guided in both speech and restraint. Over time, this gift of speech builds her reputation. People learn to respect her words because they notice that what she says aligns with truth. Even those who oppose her secretly acknowledge the weight of her voice. And though some may try to discredit her, the wisdom that flows from her eventually rises above the noise. Her words not only protect her, but also pave the way for her influence and legacy. For a woman covered by divine protection cannot speak carelessly. Her tongue becomes an instrument of justice, peace, and revelation, and every time she opens her mouth with sincerity, she reinforces the shield that God has already placed around her,